يكايا يخستينيش تكتيوهان الشيش ووچين خاستي قل الشيش ووچين خاستي كخنخ يكايا كيركي أو أدات تسنستات تلعان قاقسخنتين يقاقخ تستي يأوها توتي يوكاقخ تؤاق اشتكت يوهان كشخ تواشكو تلتزيه يجيه وتي أجيت تكاك هي يديكك ونيك تلتسين دات أدي أوه قوسنيخيه يوه أداتي تخوتنك وانغنينز داتتي نخساهايتي وشيات تسوي تواسكو يسكو text أداتا ويوخي وتاني يجيدي قش كقوتتان قش يو قش تنجي آيا يدو أساقو at texting يو ʼatánk يو تutánk يو قشتánk قوش تين أوه قنشيشك آيا يأويخ أخووز تلياتكي داكون ووch إتخيوخ ʼatánk كاكي شهيد تش دات أقاها إيدي كاكاخينيك داسا كاي شهيد قوالي إطلاق يكي قوالتلايك الواساك قواتي just get the in aya achtuasku qone wuchinyu khakhtilla ati an yewe achtunda tani ya Daax'oon atwe I daat ya ha ide kagachinik ikega shukwa aqwa dusa Daax'oon wooch it ʼatánk I daat Shkuhashi.
Wsineix. Shkuhashi. Yuchat duasak Daax'oon. Chatsati. Tewa ani awe ke chat uawat. Dleqa in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tlingit ye chatiati. Kanach tidi ach kanach city ach chuch we ha you do a sa. Ku at shatuwu chat city. Ye khatjina ye ko atlatuwu haskuni click-one school you do a sock yewe cheese
Isha in kainigi ekechawe eke aduita qoha Daax'oon at ain kainig kach kodach chaklu yach yetiach kadasi Daax'oon wooch ʼatánk I daat
one wasad do a sock Tlingit Verb job
ijne
Yejene.
Ach yejene.
Ach yejene. Ah.
Yejene. Ach yejene.
Ko atlatubu. Ach. Ach. Ye ach. Ach yejene.
Okay.
Gosh.
Kecha. Ja'adusa. Ja'adusa. Bueller. Take a dot kg in there. Daax'oon at. Nuski nachoe ach yatki. Tlingit ʼatángi ke hasuot. Shqakwech kuchzati. Anchorage ko a kechat uawat. One Tlingit duchal 1996. Atchishi tachunachach tuas a quage. Daax'oon iti kagachtu helwasaka kwati. Maybe next time. What happened? 4 things about yourself? Something happened?
Okay, I can.
The switch? Okay, it's fine.
Okay.
I can do it.
Oh, you can? Oh, shoot. Take a yak. Okay.
Okay. Okay, they aren't really coherent, but Renton day ya kunchan kunchatin for quiswas.
Oh, you can.
Ka someday Machu Picchu de ach tuati. Ye kwasatin someday, I guess, yeah. Oh, that's 3 already. Awesome. Yes. Ka at kacha saknain.
Just for assurances, nobody's assessing or judging. All we're doing is listening. We're practicing. We haven't shared a whole lot of language yet, so this is our sort of foray into that. There's no expectations. There's no right and wrong. You just do a thing. That's all. There will be future times where I'll say, let's look at those things. But now we're just listening now, just sharing. Getting to know each other too. It's good stuff. Okay. Who was going next?
I can do it. So Blake Chenach Rasha Yuchat Duasak, Beverly Birdwell Yedi, Thomas and Betty Daax'oon, Hesh Ach nach Uste, Big Sandy, Texas, or Karanqua Kwan Kudziti.
Okay. Gonna cheese Tlein. Yikecha. Oh, you can.
So you talk Cheyenne Kwan Anidach Kecha Wusidach Kekunaf Goose Yachbuch Da Platuke at Chasini Chat Plak Kakwe Chasuk
Yikecha. Chatsu. Good cheese.
I can go.
Oh.
Okay.
Susukla yuhat duasak. Jinkat dakhadusha tak katagu. Anchorage city yidat sheet ye yuti. Kagwantan ayachat and click tak yanach ya nach sakhen Lingít ʼatángi. Gunastis.
Lekecha, gunalchish. Okay.
Okay. Chare ye katno shinkai yukatangi stu khartu. Tleka katlek ach tagu. Yes.
Scheitlich. Chatsu, yiska chatsati.
Galkwasi khatsati. Kuat shatuwu khatsati. Junos School District ye jikhane. Nutsk A'tawasigu Tlein. Let's see. Nutski let's see. Nutski or Nutski I don't know.
Oh, Shinuxi
Nutski. You know. Okay.
Okay, gunalchish. Yeah, next round we'll do 2 truths and a lie. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could go.
Ja, ki Janwan atcha achju ka sif haltin achju anjis away ach tu sigur I think what else. Seattle City. I think that's all I got right now.
okay. Seem very much like you worked on that all week. Gonna change. Underage.
No judgment.
Okay, sorry. Ye Janae ish to eat Whadishi Juno Hodziti Kahutziti Kanach Aktuasigu Yan Hakuch Koch Yakyek and Bahai Chatziti.
Okay. Yeesh, okay.
a'ach, hashach, hawata,
Sean.
NYC ye ha'uti 2015 through dash 2017. Yanwasha ayachat.
Sheesh, wukecha. Yaldene.
Gunaschish Kune, Tlech, Yaudune, you Hatuasak, Tlech Ka Katlech, Ach Katagu, Ach Shachawu, Nutsk du Katagu, Dech, Ach Huaku Teen Kuik, Yaat Kanachlashin, Chak Wak, Nutsk. Dis ka kayak kus ite aktuasigu Daax'oon tuchka ayachat.
Echa, sheesh. Yvonne, itchua.
Keipsaki Khatusak Chitka Kudziti Yudatku A Yakdat Khadyati Aktu Klitzin Wasaduasak also Aktu unique
One.
Wasaduasak, my friend
Achuni.
Nadak Nakahidi Kauskan
Sean.
Equation
Oh. Sheesh. Yiin chasati. Yiin chasati. Yudataya yan tunak. Yacha adusa ayatutu yanik. Hatuasaku hayukatangi nak yakkakwati. Yi day. Ewa hakusti. Goyachwan. Yutu klitzincha. Oh. Okay. Any others? We can do it more later. I also want to recognize, like, sometimes we have intense things going on. We recognize those. Our language will be like medicine. You can also say our language is medicine. These are things that we do historically, currently, in the future, is using our language for healing purposes and for unity, which we'll see a bunch of phrases like that we'll go over today. Things to say, like words of encouragement, and also just things to say when people are having a hard time. Okay. Okay. Yautene, your hand is still up. You got something else?
Like,
Une, I have something, but I see that I did the assignment wrong.
Oh, it's okay. There's no wrong way.
Anyway, I posted something just now in the chat, and yes, I unfortunately had underlined some things too. I guess I had forgotten the part about it being about me rather than things I think about.
It's okay.
Anyway, and so I was not able to find in resources some of the things. So if I can, I'll just read them.
Okay.
Okay. Tatke ankich Tleit Daax'usitan, Ko'a ya yagiyi audigan. Yatke ayakawadan. I'm not sure which part is the birch. A'it du kalachki. They were lost.
Oh.
And I couldn't find back as meaning the back of a person in body parts, but baku, yanik. And kahak ha'atchi achit uha.
Okay, chetzu. Ukecha. Gwel chish. Ukecha. Any others?
Uh,
Oh,
I didn't get a whole lot of time just because I'm catching up on homework, like 2 weeks of homework. But Donna Keat Yechat Duasok Casey Liach Sai Tlake Kush Ach Ju Achawe Ach Ush Yanik Ka Udachwet. So I said something simple. I'm called Casey, or I'm called Donna Keat, and my name is Casey Lee, because I know some of us don't get to see each other all the time. I said I have no belly button, and because of this, I am exhausted, and my stomach, like my inside, just hurts, and that just recently happened. So,
hey Sean. Where Juan?
Cheesh.
Ukecha. Any others? Oh, okay.
Niet echt tuasidu, achwi ach tuasidu, Tlingit tuch house tu,
Oh, sheesh. Ukecha.
It would be the habitual form.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hold on.
Also, there's like I'm always tired.
Hold on. We will do that.
I wrote it in my first book because
I thought I wrote it down, but I can't find it.
yeah, Eden taught us in the 3rd week of class.
Let me check the tone. I'll make that bigger. Oops. I want to say it's this. Let me check. So looking these up, there's usually kind of 2 main forms that we're going for to do repetition. So we'll go down to wooch, which is here. And then we're looking for to be tired or weary. There's a command form. There's a do and a don't. Getting tired, not getting tired, am not tired. Had been tired, so yeah, you could do that. Hadn't been tired. The tired one, will be tired, won't be tired. Let me be tired. So, I don't know who needs.
I like that.
I actually like that one a lot.
Yeah.
But this, with the wooch, so this is the thing all the time. Every single time. So if you ever put tuk or chatuk in front of a verb, which means all the time, you should just grab one of these. For now, go in here, look it up, plug it in. You will learn how to put this verb mode together. It ends with a CH, and it does have this thing called the conjugation prefix is in there. So that's why you go from ye-yati to ye-na-teach, right? Because na is when we're going to learn this stuff. So the conjugation prefix, when you look up a verb, is right there. That means you say, oh, this is a zero verb. There's 4 of them. Anybody know what the 4 are? Anybody ever hear this before? The 4 conjugation types of a Tlingit verb.
Na.
Na,
Ga.
ga,
Ga.
ga.
Ah.
0. That's all of them. 0, na, ga, ga. Okay? So let's take a couple notes here. We're going into grammar land. So get ready for this chat ut de wooch. If you really want to earn that, no, I'm just kidding. Okay. So you have 0, you have na, you have ga, you have ga. Every Tlingit verb will belong to one of these 4. And so we just say it's a 0 verb, it's a na verb, it's a ga verb, or it's a ga verb. It will always pop up in the command form. So how do you tell someone, anybody know how to say, eat it? Eat it. Cha, right? So that is a 0 verb. Anybody know how to say, go to sleep?
Okay.
So that is a na verb. That's why the na pops up there. No mystery whatsoever. Very predictable. How do we say stand up? Get dahan. And so the ga is in there. It's ga plus I. So this one's a little interesting. What about sit down? Anu. So once you hear the command form, you know which one it belongs to. Every single verb belongs to one of these. However, these are the conjugation types, but there are also types of verbs. Do we remember that? These 5 types of verbs. What are they? Motion.
Direction.
Not direction.
State.
State.
Event.
Events. 2 more. Tlein. Big brains in here. 2 more.
Position.
Position. And act. Okay? So we'll learn why this matters. But once there's some things, you will learn how to read a verb. So you'll be like, okay, it's got this thing, this thing, this thing, and that thing. I know how to use it now, right? That's what we're going to get you to this point. For now, just look it up. It's all here in this database, totally fine. I looked it up, I plugged it into this sentence. I used tluk, so I knew I had to use the CH form, right? So when we come back to these, so I brought that up because this one gets the bold and the asterisk things. This is the exception to the rule. Every verb belongs to one of these 4, except for a motion verb. A motion verb can be any one of them. That's one of the complicated things about motion verbs is they can switch. So if we say goot is walking, you can say hagu. There's nothing in the front of that. Neilgu. But you can also say wede nagu. And if you want someone to go up to the top of a hill, you could say gagu. And if you want to walk down to the beach or something, you could say qagu. So motion verbs can switch and they will switch. But the thing with these is they are kind of associated with some meaning, right? This is getting in some big philosophical underpinnings of the language. A zero has either a goal or an end point. So usually that's why you say hagu, because you come right here, you make it there. Neishgu, you come inside. There you can achieve that. There's an ending to it. Na is kind of an ongoing thing. It doesn't mean it never ends, but there's not really a specified ending. Go that way, come from that way, right? Ga is upward, ga is downward. Sometimes these will make sense. The sun shines downward. That's a ga verb. And you have to just kind of remember this stuff. You'll see why, but now this is just your little sneak preview of how all this stuff works. So when you come back, when you look up a verb, let me get back to there. Now this stuff starts to make sense. When you see all these things here, you see like, yes, it has an object. It's a 0 plus D classifier. Wait is the verb root. It is a 0 conjugation type and an event verb. So all the information is in there, presented to you. Now we are learning, what do I do with that information? For now, it's like, I would say, just know that it exists and look it up. Look it up, look it up. And then we will learn, because then you'll say, once I saw this, I never had to click to open it up. I could do all the things because I know what it's supposed to do. And kauke, wasa?
Okay. I'm gonna try to wrap my mind around this stuff because I don't know if it's like, I don't know why, if it's something that I've just trained myself to do, but my brain tends to shut down when we get into the grammar stuff. And other languages, I have picked up patterns intuitively. So it's kind of hard for me to not pick up the patterns intuitively in my language.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you could go back to those, did you say they're conjugation categories?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the word for it? And if you could explain that again. So these conjugation categories, you said all verbs fit into them?
Every verb will belong to one of these. Like it'll be associated with it. Okay, that's a na verb, right? So like sleep is na, right? A lot of the state verbs are ga. And then you need to know that, so then you'll know, oh, to tell someone to be good, you say e ga ke. So the ga has to be there for the command form, right? And so as you sort of, this really affects how you conjugate the verb, how you move it around. Like for example, when you put a verb into the future, sometimes you're going to say yay. Like how do you say see you later?
Suye ikwasatin.
Suye ikwasatin. The yay is there because it's a qa conjugation verb. Every qa conjugation verb needs to have ye in the future. It's going to be sun shining. Ye aguchtagan. Right? So this is
So, how do you know it's a ga or a downward when it comes to suye equisitin?
because, yeah, that one, it doesn't make, because seeing something specific is not
Like
really.
I'm trying to grasp onto any kind of pattern here.
For me, like, once you start learning the rules and then you start to apply them, this is just something like with people I learned with, like once we started learning these rules, we're like, okay, that's a ga conjugation. I got it. Okay. And then, but I would say that out loud, so I would be putting it in my brain, right? So that's one of the, as you look up a verb now, you will sort of note that because these will also tell you other things. Like, and we will look at all this stuff in a step-by-step way as well, right? It's just someone asked about the habitual, and so a habitual will always have one of these. That's why you say ye na teach, right? So like for example, so looking at these 0, na, ga, ga. And that means like these verbs tend to be these types of things, having an endpoint, just being ongoing, or maybe focusing on the doing of the thing, I don't know. Upward and downward. The upward and downward kind of make the most sense in terms of like that. And so, but then it doesn't always apply. Like, I'll show you an example of, here's where it kind of gets a little interesting. So here's quate, right? So we looked at that one. We're going to look up this verb, shot. Anybody know what that verb root has to do with? Shot.
To catch.
To catch or to hold, right? So if we go look up this verb, shot, we see catching is ga and holding is qa. And I guess maybe you look up to catch it and then you look down to grab it. I don't really know, but maybe you're pinning it down because it also could be to imprison someone, would be qashat. So then the command form is going to be qashat, and the command form here is going to be gashat. So this is where the complexity lies. So there's no way around that. We're a third of the way through first semester of intermediate Tlingit. It's okay to say the word difficult. I tend to withhold it for a long time. I'll say this is really interesting. This part's really fun. I love Richard Downhover. He used to always say this is like the hardest language in the world. And that was like day one. It's like
I know, why would I remember he would do that.
I was like, lie to them, lie to them.
So I guess
all these things are tied together though. So watch this. So because it's ga, every time you use it in the future, it must have K in front of it. There's no mystery on whether K or yay pops up in the future. It's entirely dictated. And it's a low tone K, it's a low tone yay. It's just part of the verbal structure. And then if we look up to the future for holding it, we will see, whoops, I went too fast. Yay. Right? Because it's qa and because it's ga. So this is just like the information to move off of the books, to get off these books, to say like, I just want to be able to speak. I want to throw this language around and just say stuff or respond to stuff. You do have to internalize this or you'll always be memorizing or guessing. But what we're trying to do these days is, and I'll show you this document, like if you're ready for this stuff, you can read ahead in Wsineix ʼatángi. The idea is the beginning Tlingit workbook, which is 50 copies down at Sea Alaska Heritage Institute right now. I'm going to go get 5 of them. That's really designed to like say, here's the sounds, here's some patterns, here's some things you could say. And then Wsineix ʼatángi is designed to say, let's explain everything in the language with doing the verbs last. So it's like, here's everything except the verbs, just so you could get an idea of all that. Then you get to verbs. It's a verb-driven language, which is not every language is, I don't think. but like the heart of the language has to do with verbs and the way that they start to expand and move in like really, really dynamic ways. So one of the things, we're going to jump ahead in our plan because there isn't always a plan. So, there's always a plan. Okay, so one of the things I've worked on a lot over the last year is like taking a page from the book, from the ways that they're teaching the Mohawk language, which was saying, you can't, this language has, look at this word, it's gigantic. It's gigantic, right? Like when someone tells me their name, I was like, you got a short version of that name? Yeah, it's like, they cut it down to 2 syllables for me because I don't know their language, right? And so like, I'm probably calling them like, you know, it's like, my name is Wsineix, but you call me, right? And so, but what they said, you cannot memorize this language. It's just impossible. So what they did is they color-coded all of the components to then learn how to like memorize. Like if you knew what all of these things were right here, I think you could speak Tlingit pretty. There's a whole bunch more stuff than this. But as far as using a verb, this is like your essentials pack. Like if we needed to leave you on an island and you need to survive, like this is what you need to survive. But the idea is to go through, so every color is going to get a section, is going to get a chapter. And what you're looking at is from the first thing you say or hear to the last thing you say or hear. And as we write it left to right. When you see prefix and like this stuff that's connected by a gray line right here, that would all be part of the single word that is the verb. Preverb means there's some stuff, some words before it, but they are part of that verb. You can't remove them without changing the meaning. And then there's postverb stuff, but that's, like Tlingit has these general patterns that we're going to realize. One of them is there's more stuff in the front than in the back. It likes to put all this stuff up front. Say, here's all this stuff, and then here's a root, and maybe there's something on the end. The other thing is you tend to have 0 and everything else. And we'll just see, like, so this is a lot, and this is also saying, okay, let's pull the curtain back on the whole thing then and show you the thing, right? You know, it's like one time I went bowling, and like you just throw the ball, and it comes back, you throw the ball, it comes back. And then we walk behind to see like all the things. I was like, this is what it does? Because I don't know. You know, it's like, I was watching this comedian, and he was saying something like, if I went into the past, I wouldn't be able to help anybody. Because it's like, yeah, we got phones now. We could just talk to people. And like, how? I don't know, right? So, but we can figure out exactly how this language works. There's some stuff. There'll be some stuff where it's like, yeah, that's just an unpredictable thing as far as we could tell. But the idea here is to present it in a piece by piece chunk, and we're going to get there. Right? We're going to keep going through the workbook, keep working on sentences, just keep recognizing things. But some of us are like ready for this grammar conversation. And so like this thing is, I don't know how many pages I got done. It's 39 pages long. And so I'll put a link to it. You can read it. It's there. You can read it. The idea is to try and present it in as much of a non-hardcore linguistics method as possible. Some of it is still a little bit, it's just a little bit technical, but trying to.
Do you explain because I'm trying to figure out how can we learn the language of linguistics so that we can learn this language? Because I still have a hard time, and I don't usually have a hard time like learning. It's a little frustrating, but I think I need to understand the linguistics language first. And so what's the best way to do that?
That's okay.
And when you go into like, this is hortative, perfective, I'm like, oh, what do these things mean again? So
I guess
yeah.
Okay, that's a really good question. I would say, and maybe let me know if you have thoughts on this stuff as well. So Dr. Wesley Leonard works in the Miami language, and he talks a lot about capital L linguistics and lowercase l linguistics. And the differentiation he makes here is like capital L linguistics is the science of language that writes everything for the science of language, right? So it's linguists who are writing for other linguists, which is very, because if there's some stuff I could show you for Tlingit, I was like, go ahead and read it. It won't make any sense, right? Like, because like all the vocabulary has to do with, you have to become a linguist in order to sort of do this. And there's a lot of indigenous languages who are trying to figure out like, what's that middle ground between the science of language and just making speakers and just creating realms of use and making your language a language of power and use. So for me, I would say, and these are conversations that are kind of ongoing right now. Like, you know, some of these things, there is a verb mode called the potential attributive. But why is it called that? I don't know, because it means can't do it. That's all it means, is can't do it. But because Tlingit functions a certain way, so like, okay, we will jump ahead. So here's the preverb stuff, very cool and green. Here's the object pronoun, the one that the verb happens to. It's nice and a pretty shade of blue. And then we get into these thematic prefixes, which are nouns put onto verbs, and that's a nice shade of pink. And then we get to, this is what we need to make the soup, right? This is the key to the ʼatángi is right here, is the conjugation stuff. So in here, it talks about verb mode. So mode is the word we use where like some languages will say tense. But this is where you get like is, isn't, was, wasn't, will be, won't. Okay, so you need these 6 to communicate. If you could do these 6, you could do an awful lot, right? If you could say, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it, I will do it, I won't do it, I did it, I didn't do it, right? That's kind of our focus areas to say, let's build up these 6. And just so you can go crazy now, this one is pretty much kind of unpredictable, but also predictable. How's that? These ones are very predictable. You can absolutely predict these with tremendous accuracy. So when you go through, then it starts talking about what's in a prefix and what does it contract to, right? So you do have for a future 0, in this case 0, ga, ka, cha, 0, and you end up with kaka, which means I'm gonna. And sometimes it's kukwa, right? So this would be the chapter to probably look at to sort of figure those things out. Because what we really need to communicate is say like, here's what the verb is doing, here's the parts you need. It's like you have a little switch. I did this thing called the switchboard, which maybe, okay, we're jumping way ahead. And don't get discouraged. Because you're so intelligent, I need to show this to you. But it's like, it's a really cool thing. It's like we're on this long journey, but then I need to show you like a picture of where we're going, right? It's like, hey, look at this. We'll be there in 6 months. It's okay. It's okay. So I did, let's see, where is this one? I got a couple, and I've got multiple visuals to try and show you how this stuff works as well. So this one, I think it's called Conjugation Party. That's what I gotta find. Yeah.
That's fun.
So at some point, we're going to do this slideshow that's called Conjugation Party, or Objects and Subject Combinations in Tlingit. And what we're going to do is we'll take a verb and we'll just start changing it to say to me, to you, to, you know, we start changing the object and the subject. But I wanted to show you this because there's this illustration, right? This is another way to look at this stuff and pick your way. Like some people, when I show them this picture, they're like, not this again, right? And they want to get the pitchforks and start the fires, which is okay, right? So the way this works is like these are all these different components, right? So if you come in okay, where do I want to start? Okay. How about an object, right? How about an object? So if the light is on, that means the verb has, not every verb has an object. It's like, oh yes, this verb has an object. So now you could turn this switch, like say if the verb is yak-a, good, chat-yak-a, ha-yak-a, e-yak-a, yi-yak-a, yak-a, ka-yak-a, right? And that's kind of, it kind of ends there, right? I'm good, we're good, you are good, y'all are good, they are good, they all are good, people are good, right? So you basically, and so what this illustration is showing you is these are the different things. You can only pick one thing from those categories. So if you turn that switch, it's locked up. And right here is where you're going to put things into a certain combination. If you activate this one, ga, this one, and this one, qa, that's a future. Right? It's sort of like you got to put these things in a certain combination and then you unlock the mode. That's it. That's all.
I'm not sure if I know where switchboard is.
What's that?
I'm not sure if I know where switchboard is.
There was a lot of hours in Photoshop to make this happen. It was.
I'm sure. Are there multiple versions of this?
Yes, well, there's one for the there's
You
one.
have one for every verb.
I will make one for every verb mode. But if you come back, like, so the key though, like coming back to this, and so there's a board game, there's a little switchboard, there's all kinds of things to help us think about this stuff. Because what it comes down to, and I'm not going to say only or just, because it is complicated, but you have, like, in this verb conjugation or verb component handbook, I think I called it. So like, for example, here's a perfective. You need to have the perfective marker and a plus I classifier. Those are the two things you have. Now you have a perfective. To have a negative perfective, so it didn't happen, you have to have kleich, then you have the irrealis, the perfective marker, classifier goes back to its minus I natural state. But this shows.
Sorry.
So if you wanted to do a habitual, you have to have the conjugation prefix, and then you have to have ch at the end. The 0 is the only one that gets the perfective marker. So that's where you say da huech. Ye na teach. Kachanukch. I'm always sitting, right? That's a lot. I understand it's a lot.
When I looked at your switchboard, it was kind of like, oh, you want me to fly this plane by getting this right, getting all these knobs right. Quick, figure out the verb. I don't know.
But it's all a simulation. It's just it's like a video game, right? Because if you get them wrong, you're not going to crash the plane. It's like, oops, start over. And I will give you all kinds of tools to get there, right? It's like there was a basketball team and they kept being terrible for a long time. They're like, trust the process. Now they're a good basketball team. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Glad I got to see the zoomed in version because the printed version of that switchboard in the reference book doesn't really do it justice. I'm not sure if that zoomed in version does it justice, but kind of makes more sense to me.
I need to make one that's like 50 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, use a
50.
whiteboard.
Exactly. It needs to take a whole side of this classroom.
So with the colors, and then the other thing is, and so like, But every one of those components now is going to have the same color, right? As far as the things that I'm making right now, trying to teach this stuff. And it's interesting because you do go like, listen to the language, speak the language. You have to do those things, right? If this stuff is getting too confusing, go back to listening, go back to speaking. But what's wild is you start to learn this stuff, then you'll listen to a speaker and you'll say, it's starting to get sun shining, right? I went to go visit Nora Dowenhauer, you know. I was like, yeah, under gun. And she goes, yay, under gun. And she just knows that stuff. It's already programmed. So we're trying to build the program in your brain. And I think there's a whole bunch of times when the English side of your brain is like, that doesn't make sense. That's not how we do things. But you just have to say, it's okay, English brain. It's okay. There's going to be this other thing here. And what you're going to end up with is multiple perspectives, which is very fun. It does take time to get there. And I saw in the chat, yes, you can have one qanins yena teach. Sometimes it's always that way. Tlingit likes to do things like that, right? The first time I heard it was Walter Sobel. He said, Kinedi, I think he said, Kinedi chasati. One qanins ku'a, an ketan, you hatu saknuch. We are Kinedi. But sometimes people always call us the people from the house in the middle of the village, an ketan. And so sometimes we will flash forward and look at this stuff. And whenever we do, I'll put the slideshows up, I'll put the resources up, so you can look at them if you want to. But there's no need to do it now. But, like coming back, I kind of got these 4 house posts of learning Tlingit. That's what I think of. One is you gotta just speak it, and you gotta listen to it and speak it. Just walk around, listen to it. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. We got all these stories. There's so much audio. We got 500 plus hours of Tlingit audio that you can listen to. Some of it you can read along with. Like you can read the talk story. You can put that talk audio on your mobile device, whatever you got, and you can just walk around and listen to it over and over and over and over and over. Then you gotta speak it. You've got to find ways to speak the language, and as you go further, in longer stretches. So I asked you for 4 sentences. Next time it might be 6. Next time it might be 10 that string something out. So then you're identifying what your boxes are. Okay, I got this box of nouns. I got this box of these directional things. I got this box of adjectives. What are those boxes? Start filling those things up. That's building your vocabulary and your understanding of how everything works in the language. Then there's the grammar and the verbs. Like that's the engine. That's how it goes. To be able to sort of say, to just look at something and say, I could talk about that thing right now. Right? And as we sort of do this stuff over the years, sometimes I say, okay, everybody look out the window, tell me, well, we got a little tiny window, it's dark outside. Say, look out the window, tell me what's going on. Say it in Tlingit. And everyone get frozen, right? Because we had been in this state of memorize, speak, which is how you get started. But then you have to come over to sort of figure out like the structure of the language. Then for me, that 4th pillar is just self-care. It's a lot of self-care. Believe in yourself, take breaks, take care of each other, do that sort of maintenance. There's a lot of healing that takes place with indigenous language recovery. There's a lot of other things that go on with like traumas that surface and self-doubt and all these other things. And you got to sort of just find ways to blast beyond that stuff. But it does take, I think, intentional thinking. Which means it's probably a good time to take a break and transition to encouragement, phrases of encouragement, right? And just start feeding the inquisitive mind. Like as you read stuff and look at stuff, it's like, I wonder if that's one of those things that we were just talking about. You will start to see them. They will start to make sense. And then you'll be sitting here probably like 3 years from now, like, I remember I didn't know what that thing was. I know all about that thing now. I'll tell you about classifiers all day. come back at 1:45. Yigoy Juan. Qayati. And we're back. We weren't talking about anything significant. We were just resting over those past few minutes. So I remember it was mentioned earlier, this document, the Scatic Categories of the Tlingit Verb. So this, when you're learning all of this verb stuff, we will go through this thing as well, which I think is a really great way also to start thinking about verbs, because it's full of fart jokes and poop jokes, and they're not even really jokes, but like most of the verbs that they conjugate are kind of fart based, because the idea was to sort of, I gotta update this. I'll post an updated version. So for example, quat is they categorize it as a big and deadly fart. Coot is a silent but deadly fart. Cooch is a small but deadly fart. And then toot as a big sounding fart. And so what they do with this is then they start moving this through these different verb conjugations, because you're chuckling and crying at the same time, because it is challenging and difficult, but then it presents these different ways to sort of look at it. So I'll post this. I'll post that one handout that I showed you with those verb components. But also keep in mind, like, if you don't want to look at this stuff yet, you don't have to. It's just there as like saying, there's this as well, but we still have our plan and our path to move forward through this stuff at a definitive sort of pace. And so if you knew the down, how you know, like, this is how they rolled. Things were just funny, things were, but they're also like incredibly brilliant in terms of the stuff that they documented. A lot of the ways that I teach are all built upon the methods that they were envisioning, including there is a text, Intermediate Lingít. And I've got the whole thing if you want to see. It never was finished, but I started working on it, then I started changing it, and then Dick Dowenhauer said, you should just make this your own thing because it's going in a different direction. And so that's where Wsineix ʼatángi comes from. It's from Intermediate Lingít, taking those concepts and the ways that they wanted to present them, so that you move beyond memorization and you start sort of doing some stuff in the language. So I'll post these things, and for now, I think we'll just do maybe 20 of these things. So this is a document that was created by Kagwask, Ishmael Hope. It's worked on with a lot of different folks from a lot of different sources. This is brought to us by Gold Belt Heritage Foundation. And I just think it's good to know these phrases and just to go through them. So what we'll do is we'll just do each of them twice. And as we sort of go 1, 2, 3, we'll just sort of pause. If anybody has a thought or a question, you feel free to say it or ask it. Then we'll go down to the next one. And maybe we'll just do the first page, although some of them bleed over to the next page. Let's see if I can get them back up. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let me zoom in. Iyak'e. Iyak'e. Ishikudzi. Ishikudzi. Yak'e iyejineyi. Yak'e iyejineyi. Thoughts or questions? State verb, verbal noun, state verb, state verb. A'tuvuk shaqe ikach. A'tuvuk shaqe ikach. A'tuvuk shaqe ikach. Yaqidaq. Yaqidaq. Yaqidzige. Yaqidzige.
Yaqidzige.
these ones are important. It's important as you sort of learn this stuff and you start to get a glimpse of the genius of our ancestors, and it begins to come into focus, like the expansiveness of this language and the abilities within it. It's important to remember you are intelligent, you're going to succeed, you're going to be just fine as we continue to reveal things and push ourselves deeper and deeper into the language. There's also like sheqi on its own means beautiful, shiny. Shaqshaqi means a beautiful or shiny head. So that's beautiful person. But that's usually only for people. Only people are really shaqshaqi. But you'll hear other speakers use shaqshaqi to say a non-person thing, but it is kind of being metaphorical. There's another one, I'll just put it here real quick, like Kadan. So on Kadan would be beautiful land. So Kadan is another one that works well. Because sometimes people say like, it's a nice yellow shirt you have. This shirt's too yellow, I think. But that's a nice shirt. That's a beautiful thing, right? Shaqshaqi is not the only way to say that. Okay.
Never mind. Or yeah, is the shiny head word, is that the same for like bald too? Is that a different word? Because that's instantly.
Shahwaz.
Class. Okay.
It's like a cheap head, unfortunately. I'm sorry for anybody who is bald. Okay. Ishitzin. Ishitzin. Iku ayakwan. Iku ayakwan. Ituwu klatsin kwan. Ituwu klatsin kwan. Why is there a K on there? That's interesting.
Is this supposed to be the G thing again?
This is the GA. Gashitzin would be the command form for, igashitzin. But when the GA contracts, the A falls out of it and it reverts to a K. In Lingít, it's pretty often the consonant is more important than the vowel. When you say iguayahwan, sometimes you'll hear people say iduayahwan. Same way to say it. You'll also hear people say guahwan, because that's really fast, right? But this, and then if you wanted to say y'all have courage, ye, right? So there is a possessive pronoun. Ichsechan. Ichsechan. Itushe'an. Itushe'an. Sheshke itashitjik. Sheshke itashitjik. There's a J here because it's a CH on the end. That little repetitive thing, that habitual thing, right? K itashit is like you just throw it up in the air and it scatters. That's one way you can quit. But you're not gonna quit. Yisaku. Yisaku. They yisaku. They yisaku. They pops up right before the verb, means it already happened. De'atchocha, I already ate. De'chsaku, I already knew that. If it pops up at the end and it's a command, it means do that thing right now. Nata, nata de. Yende kakihan. Yende kakihan.
Can that just be for like, the, could be really for Samuel, Jenny,
Yeah. So this, it could mean, what it means, like literally, is you will remain standing. You will remain standing. So a similar verb is like you could say, for example, I said this earlier when someone was having a hard time. I guess daat yun to nak. So now this adds a couple of different things. What is changing here? Anything you notice? These are very similar things, but they're also different. We added daat. That's different. How does that thing work? Around or about you, right? So around you or about you. Yunde turns to yun. So it's yunde in the future. It's yun in an imperfective or a perfective or a command. To nak. Oops. We are standing, or we are remaining standing around you. This means we are supporting you. This is a very important phrase culturally. It's like this is something you could say, like say some clan is having a hard time. Yidat yantunak. We are standing, and then you could add your yashukach addi. The shukach addi are standing around. We're supporting you, right? So these are, the words are very important in Tlingit. Very important. Put that one in the chat so you folks have it. Atunach ke ikwawat. Atunach ke ikwawat. Atunach ke ikwawat. Hey, it's a future. It's got K in front of it. Check that out. Pretty cool. Gudachsawewe an yatku. Gudachsawewe an yatku. Where did that noble child come from? Janak. 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 That is a command form for let it go. Release it. In that command form, you don't hear na, ga, or ka. So that's a zero verb, right? Like you will start to see this stuff. Start to notice it, start to think about it, start to process it, and then eventually you will master it. For me, there's these two verbs, right? Chwasaku, I know it. Chwashaguk, I know how to do it. We are going to move from the chwasaku part to the chwashaguk part, where you're going to know how to do it, right? You might know all kinds of stuff about basketball, but can you play basketball? You can know about the language, but can you use the language? We are going to use our language. Okay.
Is that not the same verb root as in daat yun to nak?
It is different. Good spot. And so yeah, we do have homonyms where it's like, yes, they sound the same, but they are different. It's probably related to one where you could say anak nagu, which would be leave it behind.
Could you also use it for like in not a nice way, but like in frustration, and like somebody keeps on bringing up something and you're like, let it go, like, or is that something that doesn't translate that?
I don't know if that's a good question. Like I when I thought of frustration with this phrase, It's like a kid who keeps like messing with it. And I said, Janak, like let it go, drop it. Because it could also mean, literally means to drop it.
Yeah.
Right? Or to release it from your grip. But I think for that one, you'd probably say day away. That would be the short form for like, knock it off. It's always a good one to go back to. What's that?
Can you use that command with like case?
Oh, yes. I would probably say, so j is on there, right? Because there's a hand.
Oh.
So what do you think we could change it to?
Oh, mouth.
ʼatánk. That's what I say to my dog.
Oh, that's clever. That's crazy.
Drop it from your mouth.
Is that underlined?
Yeah. I guess for all our dog people. I don't think you could say ʼusnaq, even if people pick stuff up with their feet. Maybe it works. You know, some people got real like, just grab things with their feet.
I can do that. I can do that.
No, I'm fine. I didn't say anything bad about it. I didn't say anything bad.
Could you say, let it go from your, like, brain?
Oh, okay. So we do, let's see. We do have a couple of others, you know, because when we talk about this stuff, like this phrase, janak, there's some related ones that I like to use as well. And I'll put them up here and then I'll talk about them. I think all of these are very useful. And the way that we're going to phrase these, like when people start learning Tlingit, we get quite a few who they were raised around Tlingit, but they were abused, and now it's very hard for them to talk. So we started to have these ceremonies where we would take a piece of paper and we would have folks write down anything that they think is stopping them. I don't feel confident. I don't feel smart enough. I get scared I'm going to make a mistake. I feel like someone's going to hit me if I speak the language. Because we work with people who actively went through that in the residential school and boarding school era. And so then as we collect those things, nobody reads those pieces of paper. They put them in like a little bentwood box. We start a fire and we say, okay, we're going to go over these phrases, and no one's saying get over it. That's not what anybody's saying at all. But what we're saying is you don't have to carry your trauma any longer. We can give it to our ancestors. They have the strength to take it from us. And I know sometimes we feel like, I love my ancestors. Why do I want to give them all this horrible stuff? It's because they have gone through enough and they're spiritually strong and they can come and they would love to come and take that stuff from their grandchildren. Just as when someday you become an ancestor, I'm sure you'd be like, let me take that grandson, grandchild, right? And then you just so we focus on these phrases in that context. Think of the things that are slowing you down, stopping you, and when you're ready for those things too. So janak is like release it from your grip or to drop it. This one is not a verb, but it sounds like this. Well, I'll say it first. Aqut day. Aqut day. Aqut day. So qut is we have these things called relational nouns. So it has that word relational, which means it needs to belong to another noun. It needs a noun in front of it. And what this one means is without, right? So there's different ways you could use this thing. Like, I went without my keys. I walked over there without my keys. This is a command form. So this is let it go or drop it. This one is be without it. Aqute. I got this from Kenny Grant. This is how he was trying to, we had a very challenging and wonderful gathering it was the largest gathering of speakers that we've had in a long time. And we're trying to keep everybody in Tlingit, and it was being filmed. You can see it on YouTube through Alaska Heritage Institute. They're the ones who brought everybody together. And he said, "Aqute," when he was trying to get people to stop using English. It was very challenging because people had a lot of stuff they wanted to share. Some people got really mad. Somebody told me I was creating a Tlingit boarding school. I was like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't really agree with that. We have to create these realms where we use our language, right? And then nashqit is throw it away or abandon it. And that one is nashqit. 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 Hey, that is a verb. Hey, it starts with na. Look at that. Everything reveals itself. Okay, good questions. Okay, let's see. Let's shift gears a little bit. Just do some nouns for a second. Okay, this is just review. We'll just do them once. Shlush. Late. Like. Shuk. Ich. Kach. Kwan. Sie. Huk. Juan. Huk.
Kak.
Juan. Nak.
Nak.
Katesh.
Kwat.
Sheikh.
Slek.
Pooch.
Hooch.
Quena. Little disclaimer, usually this comes from a verb, okay? So,
Disclaimer.
disclaimer. Good night. Okay. I was in a meeting, right? And I was with some people that were Inupiaq, and my father's people are Yupik, so I know a little bit about like the miut you could put on the end of something to say. Miut seems to be like Juan, like people of a place. So then I was like, you're on mute. And I was like, oh, could you say mute? And they're like, yes, that works. It's hilarious. I was like, good night. I'm getting off this meeting. I'm done. Okay. So because we're not done. Because quena is a verb, you can put nouns on it. Jiquena, hand towel. Kaquena, mouth towel. Shaquena. And it's wiper, right? It's the thing that wipes. So, nose wiper, mouth wiper, hand wiper. But toilet paper is a little different.
No?
You could say tuqquena,
You could? All right.
but it has its own name and it's tuqachita. Tuqachita, long time ago, was a stick. I don't know the mechanics of it. I don't know if that's something we're actively bringing back. So, just a little inside scoop. Okay.
Oh my god,
Chat. Shanachwayi. Hunch. Khan. Chwat. Nech. ʼatánk. Kudats. Gudats. Klek. Dutek. Dutik. Plek. Dech. Natsk. Daax'oon. Kajin. Play dushu. Daax'oon. Naskadushu. Kushuk. Jinkat. In Lingít, how would I or translate this? Wasa itu asak. How are you called? Or what is your name? Wasa do asak. How were they called? How is it called? Kagwantan chsiti. They are kagwantan. Yesh na chatzati. I am raven moiety. Uhan ayah. Us here, or
This is us, we are here.
it is us. Or I would say it is us. Or this is us, that works as well. Seattle yechatyati.
I'm from Seattle, is where I am right now.
Yeah, I am staying in Seattle. I am in Seattle. Chachit ayah ha nakahiti.
Our house is a hut.
Yes. And anybody know Chachit for the double bonus mega prize, which is clapping. Sorry. I'll come up with better prizes someday.
Gold star stickers.
Oh yeah, have you seen the star system? Okay, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you.
That's not Thunderbird house, is it?
It is not. That would be hate it. Sit adach wutich aka atwushahash hin kach wutletiki at sit kach wutich ka atwushahash.
Iceberg house.
Yes. Iceberg. Kach is iceberg. They are called Susie in English.
Susie, you do a sock, Tlein, Ena.
Susie, you do a sock, klinach. Child of Shukach Adi. Shukach Adi Yeti. We're all in agreement that we will not be putting English plural markers on clan names. The Kagwantans and the Shukach Adis and the Shangukadis.
I think I did that until you mentioned it last week.
Hand up. Wasa.
My grandma, when I was talking to her about the introduction of how my name is in English, she said that the way she was taught was instead of Leitka, it was the mouth of King George. Have you heard that before?
There is Ginjichuan, which is the name for Canadian, and that comes from King George Man. Yes. And Ginjichuan is, but that's really interesting though, because Ginjichuan, Gutskichuan, Washdanquan, Gleidka, those were all four names that were historically used. Where does Washdanquan come from?
Boston.
People of Boston, Ginjichuan, King. So a lot of things that end with one comes from man. Watchman. It's the name for police. Okay, you okay? I am at Angoon. Wait. We can't say Angoon though in Tlingit. Angoon. Gonna cheese. Angoon Kechatyati. Which clan are you? Daax'oon. Where do you reside using the owning land type of one? Wooch. Sa. Starts with ko. What am I thinking? I'd end with oo. Kuksa. Ki. Ya. Ooh. Kuksa kiya oo. Kuksa kiya oo. Kiya oo. Okay. We are ʼatánk. I could have translated that part. We're the ancestral people of Atlan. Yeah, uhan aya, or I might say ʼatánk awe uhan. But there are multiple ways to get there. Okay, uhan. Gets us to weather. For this wonderful phrase at the beginning, Yeshingataniqeigh wushjin turshat Yesu. There's that shut verb. Oh, we just looked at that one. Turshat, right? To hold on to each other. Couple of cool things here. Tlingit ani is the world. And we know in Tlingit that the world is round. Right? We know it spins as well. It's in the old songs. We've known that for a long time. You can, though, say Lingít ani ka, on the world. You can also say Lingít ani tuqwani, the people inside of the world. And you can also say Lingít ani qeigh, in between the folds of the world. So Tlingit also has multiple perspectives on how you are in or on the world. Okay. When you have wooch before a verb, that means to one another. If you have wooch-in or wooch-tin with each other, those are different, right? Wooch-in to ʼattucha. We are eating together. Wooch tudacha, we're eating each other, right? We just want to make sure that we're clear. Sometimes we want to verb each other out, right? Go for it. Sometimes we just want to verb together, right? So that's where the in or the tin comes in, right? Wooch in, wooch tin. Woosh, wooch, to each other, right? So that's fine. Then you have jin, tushut, holding each other's hands. You'll also see this Yesu. I was in Hawaii, and they were singing these songs. They kept singing Yesu. I was like, still? I was like, what's Yesu? And that's how we say Jesus. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. But Yesu tends to be when it comes after the verb, it's still happening. Itake Yesu, you still sleeping? When it comes before the verb, it kind of means, right, just now, like it just started to happen. Cha Yesu, ta, they just went to sleep. Ta Yesu, they're still sleeping. That might be enough for a day, maybe. And there's no class on Thursday. Rewatch the video if you didn't catch it. I guess it's not re. Watch the video if you weren't here yesterday. If you missed any parts of it, I'll post it tonight. I'm going to post a bunch of stuff to read, right? I think, even though we're going through this whole thing, I do think it's time to take a look at this book, Wsineix ʼatángi. And we'll start by, let me tell you where the title of this comes from. It's all online right now, unless you have a printed copy. I am going to make the order this weekend, so your printed copies that are purchased by the Douglas Indian Association, the Douglas Shukatku Association, they will be here within the next week or two. So it's probably going to take a couple weeks. It might take 3, I don't know. They should be here before November, though. So we will probably be reading the online version, the PDF version, but you do have copies coming to your hands. Where this title comes from. So this started out as intermediate Tlingit. And then the Darwin Howard said, you got to do your own thing. It's going through too many changes. We're a little uncomfortable, and it's fine because it's becoming this sort of thing. Because the ways that we sort of look at the language has shifted over time. If you look at beginning Tlingit, and if you look at the Tlingit Verb Dictionary, they talk about the verbs quite a bit differently than we do today. It's okay. It's okay. So then then the title was Understanding the Tlingit Verb. But then it went through so many, and there were classes 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that just got mounds of paper as I was writing these chapters, figuring things out. And there's still mistakes in here. Don't hate me because of it. It happens. But then a friend of mine named Seth Cable, his Tlingit name is Daax'oon. He was given that name. He said, maybe you should change the name because it's only got a little bit about the verb at the end, and it's like this bigger thing. It's a bigger thing than just understanding the Tlingit verb. So we're testifying to make languages, Alaska Native languages, co-official languages of Alaska, and we had a strategy. The strategy was Kasech, Selena Everson, get them with the elders' knowledge and what it was like to grow up with your language oppressed, and the feelings and the emotion. Then I would come with the statistics and the sometimes you better blah, 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 and blasting down anybody's arguments. And I was sitting next to her. We always testify at the same time. And inside scoop, this was the first time I'd ever testified before a state legislature. And I know we're out of time, but it was February, and they said, first thing, you're at 9 a.m. It's all right. So I'm not a very timely person. So, I know it's a big reveal, but I was on my way, and I was like, I'm going to be on time. Look at that. It's amazing.
You're consistent at least.
What's that?
You're consistent at least.
I'm reliable, yes. And Selena Everson calls. I want to come. I said, oh, okay. That'd be wonderful. She says, I need a ride. I said, okay, I will come get you. So I went to get her. It was a little bit out of the way, but I am going to go get the elder who wants to come. So I pick her up. I drive over there, and I said, well, there's the Capitol building. I want to have to walk up those stairs in wintertime. So I drove up the hill behind it so she could just walk straight into the building. I said, I got to go around and park. So I turn and I start going down the hill, and I start sliding down the hill. And I was able to, before I started sliding too fast, hit the curb and not jump over it and hit any buildings or anything. And the curb stopped the truck. And someone's illegally parked right there. And I'm like, I don't know if I can get around them or if I'm going to slide right into them. Then there's a daycare right here, so people are walking their little babies across the thing. I'm like, I might smash a child. I sure hope it doesn't happen. So I'm kind of freaking out. And I'm like, it is time to testify right now. So I finally get a clearing in the traffic. I barely make it around this car. I get down. I'm able to slow down. I go and find a parking spot. My mouth is completely absent of any hydration. My heart was beating. I walk in. I sat down. Testify. Wow. But at one point, when when we were testifying together, she said, Wsineix ʼatángi. And I was like, that's it. That is the phrase. Our language saved us. It healed us. And I'll give you a little insider scoop. Last thing, Sitting with Keochne, Nora, and Dauenhauer one time. We're just chatting. I said, Wsineix ʼatángi. So what would that be? Wsineix ʼatángi. Our language saved me. And she said, me too. I was crazy. So we'll leave it at that. We will look into this. I think we're not having class. I do think you can get up to the nouns chapter. Could you do that?
Read up to nouns.
That would be 22 whole pages. Hearing nothing, there's no objections, so that's good. Okay. So when we come back on Tuesday, keep going through beginning Tlingit workbook. This is really talking about, like, there's some grammar terms, there's some other stuff, like, again, Kauke, when you're talking about where do you start, what I tried to do here is put all the grammatical terms that I think you need to have these conversations. And it's up to you how deep you go with this stuff. But like there is some things we got to figure out. And so, Tlein, no class on Thursday. I don't want to get this like email thing about like someone showing up in the Zoom. But I will put a link up for our classroom on the Basecamp. We have this thing called Basecamp, which is like a way to stay in touch with each other. I would like you all to sign up for that. You can stay in touch with each other. You can ask questions on there. It's a great way to say, like, I have a question and I don't want to wait a week. You could put, I will answer it. You put it up there, I will answer it. Or someone else will. We also have another Zoom link that is for study groups, conversation times. As we start getting deeper and deeper into it, you must communicate with the people who are learning it as well. No one's out there talking about classifiers, conjugation prefixes and stuff, except for those who are learning Tlingit. Also, never assume that you know more than a speaker because you know what this stuff is, right? Like someone told me, like, I talked to my uncle, he said there's no suffixes. I was like, don't ask him stuff like that. Just get him to talk to you, right? Okay. Eka, hucha, grashish. The study group it's an open Zoom link. The Basecamp is there to say, hey, let's have study sessions at this time, that time, whatever. I do have office hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 to 2. So I can pop in now. If you guys want to set it up then, I could do it then. If you want to set up other times, I could pop in now and then. You can also, there are also self-sustaining study groups that still meet to this day, formed years ago. Cheese.
Goodness, cheese.
Yeesh.
Cheese.
Goodness, cheese.
Cheese.
Okay.
Kind of a whole like spread going on.